TV shows that are full of action. If something doesn't explode, I've wasted my time. I love that kind of stuff. And I think that's what we need to think about when we're looking at love. Love requires action. We having technical difficulties?
It's all you, not me.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, we're having jury difficulties. Totally understand. I hit the wrong button. Or thought it slid and it didn't. See, it requires action. I have to take action. Another good illustration. Last fall, I had the opportunity, I shared a little last week with those who were here, to go to a conference called Sticky Faith. And basically, this is a movement that they have spent literally millions of dollars to come up with the research that is in this little book. And you paid, I think it was like, what, $18, $20, something like that. And I got to go to the conference, and I got fed, and I got this book. So that's pretty good for your money. It was well spent. But even more, all of this research that Dr. Kara Powell, Brad Griffin, and Dr. Cheryl Crawford, I want to give them credit, came up with, the whole conference was about how to get our teenagers and our students to have a sticky faith, a faith that will stick. But as I went through the conferences and I listened to Dr. Kara and I processed where we are as a church family, you know what I realized? This isn't just about our youth. Our world needs sticky faith. So I'm going to give just a little highlights from last week because I don't want anybody to miss this. This is what sticky faith looks like. See in the middle? That's you. Might not look like you. We'll take your picture later. But in the middle is you. And for you to have a sticky faith, and for students to have a sticky faith, for anybody to have a faith that is going to stick, here's the theory. You need at least 5 people around you that are not blood relation, but will be there for you no matter what happens in your life, to celebrate the joys, and especially to be there in the hardships. Now think about it. I don't know what your teenage life was like. I don't know what your childhood life was like. I had a lot of stickiness because my dad was the pastor, so they all kind of stuck and watched everything I did. And I'm very thankful for that, even though it got on my nerves at times. I cannot think of a time in my life where I didn't have 5 people around me. So as I'm thinking through this conference, I'm like, well, this is simple. But then I got to thinking about some of you. And I got to thinking about some of our kids. And how many of the people that are in your life can you say have a solid faith that can surround you at all times? And if you cannot name 5 people who are not blood relatives to you, we got some work to do. You hear me? You with me? This is a beautiful concept. Not only should you be the person in the middle with the 5 people around that you can call on at any time, you need to be one of those people for somebody else. Okay? Sticky faith is simply this. It is an internal and an external experience. Your inner thoughts, your emotions, everything that you do decides whether you have a good faith or not. It needs to be personal. You have to grow. You have to be willing to do the work to grow. But it also has to be part of a community. Are you willing to put yourself out there and be there for those who need you? And it also needs to be a situation where you are mature enough to be one of those people for others, but you also need to be continually maturing so that you can be everything you need to be for everyone else. Think about it. Every one of us has problems. If we took time today, every one of us could say, yep, I have an issue I'm struggling with, and if you only have one, you're very fortunate. Every one of us could say that, but then my question is, are you maturing? And are you listening to God's way versus the world's way in how you are handling those situations? That's called maturing, and that's what we need. We need, each one of us, to have at least 5 people around us, but also you need to be that person for somebody else. I'm going to read you a few of the statements of the people that they interviewed. This was a 5 to 6 year process where they interviewed junior It's just spelled a little different, but I still like it. Kaylee, as an adult, said this: my church made me feel like a valued part of the congregation. I always knew I belonged. I know I am a mature adult. Wouldn't you love it if our kids grew up and said that about us? That's my hope. That's my goal. Delonte said this: the students seem to be very separated in our congregation. There is such a huge gap, we're not even important. I hope none of them say that about our congregation. And Tara said this: I have been so thankful for the people who surrounded my life. They mentored me, they encouraged me, they were there in the good and in the rough. Because that way, I got to see examples of what a Christian woman, a godly woman, and godly men really should be. Anybody want to be like that? That's why we're talking about love. Last week I gave you a resolution that there's no way if you're following Christ you could break. And it's this: I want to be about love. And your challenge last week was to read 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, or like 3 through 10. The whole thing is fine too. And admit where you need work, and then to promise to follow through with it. So for those of you who are just catching up with us on this resolution, let's read it together. Love is patient. You could start here and you go all the way around the sanctuary as we read it if you want to follow. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. As you look around the room, each of these individually is broken out. And in just a few minutes, you're actually going to have something that you're going to have to get up and move. So get ready, don't fall asleep. You're going to be moving here.